As if the left wasn't already acting ridiculous enough, after Trump and the Republicans kicked them in the teeth on election day, they just got 1,000 times more insane. A new idea to strip Trump of his presidential power is to invoke the 25th Amendment. Yes, there's a 25th Amendment, and here's what it says, particularly in Section 4. Whenever the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President. Basically, it's an emergency provision that allows the Vice President and members of the Cabinet to declare the President unfit to carry out the duties of the presidency. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Why didn't Trump appoint an outsider to be the Vice President? Don't worry, none of this stuff is actually going to happen. It's just a fairy tale from the left, much like their fairy tale of Russians hacking the election. One of the first people to bring up this crazy notion is none other than professional Trump hater, Republican David Frum, senior editor of The Atlantic. If you missed some of Frum's brilliant writing, you should refer to a piece he wrote a few days before the election, urging conservatives to vote for Hillary. Trust me, it's way dumber than it sounds. Elitist David Frum is trying to tell you to hold your nose and vote for Hillary. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Oh gee, I don't know, David. Maybe losing the Supreme Court for the next 50 years? He's also a guy who retweets his own tweets from a day ago because nobody cared about what he said the first time. Now that this has hit social media, Soros-funded protesters and everyday American haters have learned a new amendment. Which is good, because they'll need another one to try to trample on and abuse after Trump's presidency secured the First and Second Amendments. Now you might be wondering, what has Trump done to make him unfit for office before he even takes office? Well, smug liberal know-it-all Keith Olbermann's going to answer that for you.
Example, 24 of his first 40 tweets after the election consisted of the following. 6 complaints about the New York Times, 4 complaints about the cast of Hamilton, 1 deleted, 1 complaint about Saturday Night Live.
Actually, Keith, when you put it that way, he sounds pretty sane to me. Saturday Night Live hasn't been funny since Will Ferrell left. Its only claim to fame now is being funnier than The Daily Show in Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, which isn't saying very much. But while the left is talking about invoking the 25th Amendment on a guy who isn't even in office, why don't we actually talk about the guy who has been in office for the last 8 years? Let's see. He started with Fast and Furious, where the US government allowed Arizona firearm dealers to sell weapons to illegal buyers in Mexico as a way to catch top members of the Mexican drug cartel, which was a complete disaster and led to the tragic death of a US Border Patrol agent, a scandal Obama tried to blame Bush for, of course. He paraded around the country deceiving the American people about his Affordable Care Act, blatantly lying at every turn, only to find out after it was passed that healthcare insurance premiums went through the roof. Benghazi. His love for open borders at the expense of American safety, his disgraceful handling and miscalculations of ISIS, or as he calls it, ISIL to annoy us, allowing the IRS to target conservative groups. There's more, I'm just too sick to my stomach to continue. Now does that sound like someone who is fit for office? And what about Hillary?
What difference at this point does it make?
Didn't think so. One last thing. The 25th Amendment doesn't just eliminate Trump's entire administration and put in place a Democrat as president. Mike Pence will be taking his place.
And you know who bursts out of the 25th Amendment birthday cake, right? That's right. Acting President Mike Pence.
And in case Keith Olbermann and the rest on the left have that short of a memory on what they think of Mike Pence, let me remind you about how they hate him more than Trump. The Huffington Post. Think Trump is scary? Check out Mike Pence on the issues. Mike Pence might be even worse for women than Donald Trump is. Think the GOP can do worse than Trump? Meet Mike Pence. And that's all they do. Hate, hate, hate. To them, it only matters if the person in charge has a D in front of their name. Thank you, and please like and share this video if you agree.